about rational numbers and decimals. A rational number is a, and then you're gonna write the word number. That can be written as a, what did you guys think? What do you think you're writing a rational number as? It's close to a fraction. It's a ratio, which ratios basically are set up like fractions. And it's of two integers. A and B. We're going to focus on that. I want you to circle A and B, where B is not 0. So our ratio would actually look like A over B. Put a box around 2/3. 2/3 is a rational number, and 67/100 is also a rational number, because it can be written as the fraction 67/100. Okay, here we have two types of decimals. Two types of decimals we are going to focus on is one that both of them you guys know. When it stops, there's a special word for that. Instead of saying the decimal ends or the decimal stops, does anybody know what it means when it stops? What we're going to use, Sander? It terminates. Very good. So we have terminating decimals. Come to an end. For example, 25/100. So the other kind of decimal that you guys are used to working with are the ones that, yep, repeating decimals. Is where one or more digits repeat, and this is the word indefinitely. That means it never stops. Does it have to, remember it's one or more, okay? Remember we did that one division problem with the decimals, and we had to go out 5 places past the decimal, and then it finally started to repeat. So sometimes it can be all the way that far. But here's an example of a repeating decimal. And I'm just going to put this bar on top of it. What is that called when I put the bar on top of it? Anthony?
It means it repeats.
And that's called bar notation. If you want to write it in there somewhere to know that it's a bar notation, but if you know, put the bar above there to know that it repeats, that's all that you need. So the next thing, it gives us an example here. Convert 7/16 to a decimal to the thousandths place. So it's telling us all the way that we need to get to. So in order to convert 7/16, you just take 7 divided by 16. 16 cannot go into 7, but it can go into 70 about how many times? Okay, someone's saying 5 or 4, so we really kind of don't know exactly, right? It's kind of an in-between. So what you need to do is off to the side, let's try, what's your first guess, 4? 16 times 4. 4 times 6 is, guys help me out, 24, and then 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 makes, okay, so is it 4 then? Make sure you bring up that decimal. Add the 4, and we're gonna subtract 64. 70 minus 64 is 6. Bring down a 0. It obviously is not gonna work 4 times, but it will work 3. 3 times 16. If you don't know it in your head, you just come over here and write it so you don't make a silly error. 3 times 6 is 18. Carry the 1, leave the 8. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 makes 4. So I'm going to subtract 48. Show that you're borrowing here, and you're left with 12. Bring down another 0. Well, what is 60 plus 60? Okay, is this gonna be, let's do this, guys. 60 plus 60. How come my paper is telling me different here? Is it saying it can go in there 7 times? Okay, so it'd be, 16 times 7? It was 6 times 7 is what? 42, and then 7 plus 4 makes? Huh? 11. So it'd be 7 times. If I would've done 60 plus 60, we said it was what? So I've got 8 left, correct? Bring down the 0. And it's because 16 is gonna go into 80, how many times? 5, because 5 times 16 is what? Now, what kind of decimal is this? Terminating or repeating? Terminating. I want you to write that in the corner. Sometimes they might just say round to the nearest tenth, round to the nearest hundredth. If it says round to the nearest tenth, I would only have to go to the hundredths place. If I have to round to the nearest hundredth, I only have to divide to the thousandths place. So make sure you're reading the directions carefully on what to divide to. I want you to put a box around this, converting. The mixed number to a decimal. First, convert the fractional part. Okay, am I doing anything with my 3, my whole number?
No.
Not yet, because it says first, change 3/4 to a decimal, okay? You should have 3/4 as a decimal memorized. That is one you will need to memorize, but if you don't have it memorized, we're just going to do it. 4 doesn't go into 3, so I add the decimal. Bring the decimal up. 4 goes into 30, 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. 2 left over, because we had to borrow. Add a 0. 4 goes into 20, 5 times. You need to have it memorized that 3/4 is 0.75. Then it tells us to rewrite the mixed number as the sum of the whole, and which is the 3.00, because that's what I circled up here. Okay, and the part, which was what we just found out as the decimal, is 0.75. So we combine them, and it's 3.75. That is your final answer. So what you do is you just take out the whole number, change the mixed number part to a decimal, and then you attach the whole number back to it. Okay, let's look at the back. And we're gonna try to do some of these. Braxton's mother made a plate of 30 chicken tenders for him and his friends. When they were finished, there were 12 chicken tenders left over. Write a fraction to show how many were left over, and then convert that fraction to a decimal. In decimal form, how many of the chicken tenders were left over? So first, it says, let's underline some important words. She made a plate of 30 chicken tenders. There were 12 chicken tenders left. Write a fraction to show how many were left over. Then convert to a decimal. So how do I write my fraction? How am I gonna write my fraction for what was left over? Just somebody tell me.
12/30.
Yeah, so you write 12/30. Before I even make that a decimal, what should I do to my fraction? Reduce it. So what can I reduce 12 and 30 by, or 30 by? By what? 6. You could have done it by 3, but then you'd have to do it again. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. 30 divided by 6 is 5. Now how do I convert 2/5 to a decimal? Divide. What am I gonna divide? 2 divided by 5. 5 doesn't go into 2, so you add a 0. Decimal point. Bring the decimal point up, add a 0. 5 goes into 20, how many times? 4 times. There's your final answer. It is so much easier to reduce it all the way down and then look for the decimal. I am gonna tell you though, and I want you to write it down here. I know that's 2/5, but if I have 1/5, I need to know that that is at 0.2 as a decimal. It is also 20%. There will be some fractions and decimals you need to have memorized. And I'll get you a list and I'll work on those later, but today we're just going to practice doing it without this. Do you think I'm going to allow you to use a calculator on these types of problems?
No.
You're right, not at the beginning. Nope, I need to see that you know how to do it and show your work. Number 2, out of 18 students, Mrs. Bergeron discovered that only 6 could stay after school for tutoring. Write a fraction to show how many of Mrs. Bergeron's students could stay after school, and then convert that fraction to a decimal. In decimal form, how many of Mrs. Bergeron's students are able to stay after school tutoring? So what fraction do I write? Tell me what fraction I write, guys. Say it one more time. Okay, thank you. I can't hear everybody. I write 6/18. That's an option, but is that my answer? No. What do I need to do to the fraction? Divide it or reduce it by what? 6. 6 divided by 6 is? 18 divided by 6 is? Okay, how do I make 1/3? Decimal? Divide. 1 divided by 3. 3 doesn't go into 1, so I add a 0. Decimal point, bring it up, add a 0. 3 goes into 10, 3 times, which is 9. 1 left over, add another 0. But what is happening? It's repeating. So my answer is D. This is another, 1/3 is another one you should have memorized. 1/3 is always 33. It's really 33 and a third %. or 0.3 repeated. And number 3, at the school carnival, Alex, Byron, Jake, and Lily bought an extra large pizza that had 12 slices. Alex ate 2 slices, Byron ate 3 slices, Jake ate 3 slices, and Lily ate 2 slices. In decimal form, how much of the pizza did the 4 friends eat? So, it's got 12 slices, right? So that would be on the bottom, right? Alex ate 2, Byron ate 3, Jake ate 3, and Lily ate 2. What am I gonna do to those numbers? Add them. So it's 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2. 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 2 is 5, so I've got 10 twelfths. Then how do I make that a decimal? Divide. 10 divided by 12. What? Ah, thank you. Don't get, because would that have been easy division? Not really. What am I gonna reduce it by? 2. 5, 6. Is it easier to probably look at 5 divided by 6 than dividing by 12? Yes. What if I didn't reduce? I could have still done it that way, but it doesn't make life easy. And I'm all about making life easy. The 6 going to 5? Nope. Add the decimal, bring it up. 6 goes into 50. How many times?
8.
How many times, guys?
8.
8. And 8 times 6 is? 48. 2 left. Add a 0. Bring it down. 6 goes into 20. 3 times. 3 times 6 is? 2 left. What's happening? Okay, I don't even really have to go any further, do I? So what is it, the 8 repeating or just the 3? So C is my answer. Go ahead and hit